Hello and welcome back. This is Kristen from Life of Crafting and we are on part 3, yes 3, of the Christmas Memories pack from Photoplay. This was an older pack I did find, and I will link some down below. I was only finding this on sites like eBay, so unfortunately not a current one, but I think a lot of what I'm doing you could use with some of the more current ones. So getting down to this, I'll take this one aside. This was a sketch that I had already showed you in part 2, I believe it was, that I found on Pinterest. It has no name, but I was misspeaking, or I misspoke on what the different dimensions were. So this is an A2 size card, which means it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did a layer that was 1/8 of an inch smaller, which is going to be a green layer, if you see that in there. Then I did another layer of cardstock, which is the red that's in here now behind the printed paper. So the printed paper is 1 inch. This one is 1 inch by 5 1/8. So that makes the layer behind it 1 1/8 by 5 1/4 this way. Then the wider strip here is the 2 5/8 by 5 1/8. And 2 3/4 is the cardstock behind it, and 5 1/4 behind it. So having gone through that, when I started to do the card, what I found was, let me get the sheet out. When you do the stickers always have like a white border around them. So if you look at like this one here, it's difficult because, here I got some black paper. You see how there's like a border? It's difficult because when I was doing this sketch, the card's on a ivory color base, and it just was really looking too much like it was going to stand out. So for me, I took the oxide ink in the color of mahogany, or aged mahogany, from Tim Holtz, and I did everything from, if you can tell, I even did, you can tell like from the back, I aged the card base. I did the red and the green layers. You just don't see it as much, but you can definitely tell like the difference when you put them side by side of what it makes in giving you that more aged vintagey look by using that on there. So I figured that for me to kind of give this the look I was going for, I wanted to do the stickers with that on there. So to successfully do that, you have to take, which I took was the anti-static tool, and I just flipped the stickers over and I used that to take the stickiness off the back of that, because I wanted to age just these edges. I didn't want it on this when I did it. So even this panel that's behind here, which is showing here, got aged around the edge because I wanted the center to still be kind of vibrant. And if I put the sticker on there and then did the edges, it would have really just not had the effect of what I was looking for. So to add a little bit something more on there, I did pull out this Impression Obsessions Primitive Candy Cane, and I love this as something when you're looking to just find and add just that extra piece onto something. And I like this because it's got the stitching in there. They're a good size. I have been able to flip this candy cane around and go in the other direction with it as well. So, it's been very, very, versatile for me. So I did use just some scrap greens, put a little bit of the Rustic Wilderness and the oxide ink around the edges just to bring some different tones to it. And then I used the aged mahogany in the Distress ink to stamp this. And I used Tim Holtz Crazy Talk. And I used the one that's down here in the more like penmanship looking. And I did that on this Queen & Company's Foundation Dies 2. I love this for the, again, different pieces that they get that you can build on and everything. But they have these great sentiment strips that have the stitching on it. And they have different lengths, and they're that thinner size. So I cut some of those out, and I was able to get them. It was exactly the match in the smallest size on this. And okay, that's for something else. So that was what finished this off. I did add some of the darker burgundy color rhinestones because I felt like it needed some bling, and I'm trying to use these up. If anybody knows where you're getting these more burgundy color versus red, I'd appreciate knowing, because I love this color. So that was this card. Lots of different goodies to use in there. I did choose to use, I could have like flipped another one over for the back, and I think this one with the holly on it just really had nothing. It was a really tough one to think I was just going to use a strip of it. So I just opted to continue to use that side, and if not, you know, it would have been a good one to maybe use up some of the scraps you have. So I like that that's a good one to use up some scraps with. Speaking of using up scraps, the other sketch that I used, that I've now buried under these papers, let me bring them back out, is this one here. This is a Mojo Monday. Get this in here. Sketch 547. And what I like about this one is you can get some scraps for these pieces that are here. That's supposed to be this one big piece. You can do strips in here. And you could put in, you know, scraps here if you wanted to. I will tell you, and unfortunately when I did the first two versions, I did have this fishtailed piece on here in the goldenrod color, the color that was over here, and I really did not like it. It just did not, there just wasn't enough in here to like pull it together. So what I did was I used some of the scraps that I had. I had several of these longer strips from using the other paper on the card before this, and I had some of these in there from different things. This is several, the cut-aparts I used were here, which was good, because I did this version and I did one with the green Santa print on there. So I'll show them in the still shot, but I liked how I could use up scraps on this. And then, like I said, I put that fishtail on it and I was like, this does not look right. So here's what I did. To get the sentiment, one of the things was, I have several circles that I've kept this. It's a discontinued product from Stampin' Up, but I like all the scallop sizes, and then you get the regular size. Truthfully, I like the stitching, so I went and I brought in the Queen Company's Foundation Die 3, and I used this one here. I was trying to find, and I did have bigger ones, but they were so big, if I went and did them like they did, I don't know, it just did not look right. So I centered this more. I did in my second one show how I did this. This here is from, oh, it's His Darling Christmas. Let me find that. This was out in 2022. And what I did was I took, and I'll try and do it like on this sample, I took and I did the sentiment and I stamped it down below here. I took a strip of washi tape across it to mask it off. And then I did the little reindeer above it and just did it so I could keep him in the frame. So that's why you're saying I'm not getting the full stamp out of that, because that was all masked off. And I did that because I felt like it just needed something else. The problem with the starting and the stopping and the starting, I'm going to tell you, I'm having a tough time because I'm losing ideas. And you may not think that about yourself, but when you're working in paper packs and things like that, and you're doing repetition of stuff, you do start getting like ideas of what you want to do for other styles. And I kind of can't, I haven't been able to do that with my creativity to keep going, because I keep starting and stopping. So I've been trying to like reinvent the wheel every time I come down here. So this one was done. Then the other thing out of this was I used, like I said, the circle here. I pulled out the coordinating size from this one to give me the scallop, and I just used, I've talked about it before, it's a big poster board that you can get at Hobby Lobby, and it's like a more matte colored or brushed colored, it's not the bright foil, and I like that. So to finish off the sentiment, I did bring back in, I used this in my second part, was the Robert Stanley collection. I talked about how I like to keep like metallic golds and metallic silvers ribbons of different sizes in my stash, so that I don't have to try and get an exact match. I can add that little bit of bling that I want to add on there. And I had it to that point, and then it was like, I wanted to pull this off. I wanted to pull this fishtail. I was like, what am I going to do? And I brought in, I think it's important to keep in your stash stuff that has like the floral sprigs. I like, especially for doing Christmas, to keep smaller different sizes of poinsettia, holly leaves, and that stuff in there. So I did do the two poinsettia leaves. I piled them up. And then for the centers, I put in these Recollections micro beads. I have had this thing for so long, like years, and I haven't even barely like touched it. The trick to these is you have to glue the 2 layers and then let them sit for a while, and then just dab the centers to put the micro beads on, because if you try to do it all at once, the glue is going to come out between your leaves and stuff, and you're going to have those micro beads sticking where you don't want them. So I cut out some more of the sprigs from the, there was an Impression Obsession sprig die that I used in part 2. It was this one here, and I had extras of these green sprigs from this Impression Obsession. Again, I'll put down below what is, I don't think this is the name of it. So I had extras. I just piled them in there with some of the holly leaves from this same Spellbinders die. This is the Christmas Blooms. This was out, I think, in 2021. And I did get this at a Hobby Lobby clearance at one point. And I liked it, again, just because you have different sizes of things that you can just use for exactly this when you want to add that little something to it. So these are the next 2 cards, and I am completed now with part 3. Hallelujah. So I'm hoping you're getting some inspirations. Again, this is the Christmas Memories paper from Photoplay. And I do still have quite a bit of paper. I mean, I'm like, how many cards have I made? I still have this whole sticker sheet. I talked about, I think it was in part 2, about how I wanted to use those 5 bigger pieces up, and I did, and that was the first card I showed over here. So I got 5 of those because I was limited how many stickers I had. Still have, I feel like, so many of these stickers. I don't even know if I'm going to get to use them all. But I put everything I had still in here so I could keep it together, and I still have 2/3 of a sheet of this. Here's some of my scraps. Still have a full sheet of this and almost a full sheet of this. So we will be back with at least a part 4 on this series to use this up. And I'm also thinking that I could probably pull in, if I wanted to, some of the stuff off of this. Like I could have fussy cut this out, some of these. Probably got like 2 more. So we'll see if I feel like doing any of that. But I will be back shortly with the next version. Bye for now. See ya.